right? Don't be crazy. If your kid needs a rest, listen to them and be their biggest cheerleader. If you don't know nothing about soccer, shut up.
All right, David, welcome to the podcast. We made it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And thank you for being flexible this week.
Yeah, no problem. So I've been following you for a while, and it's been really cool to see just your growth over the years.
I
And
thought, you know that feeling you get when someone's following you? I knew I had it. Put a punch in.
yeah,
Right.
so yeah, it's been really cool to see your growth. And I'm actually kind of sad I haven't had you on sooner. I started this podcast 5 years ago, and I'm like, how have I not had David on? And a lot of my audience has asked me, wait, you guys would be such a great duo. And now here we are. So better late than never, I guess.
Well, you've done well. Obviously, you're killing it. So I'm honored to be on.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm just trying to get the word out. And, I really appreciate doing the podcast because I like longer form discussions. And we are just talking off air about how TikTok has gotten out of control, Instagram, and just all the short form content. It's distracting, it's terrifying and addicting. But I just love long form discussions because there's nuance to a lot of training and player development. And I really want to get into the skill side today because that is your wheelhouse. And I just want to start off with the question, what do you think is the biggest mistake young players make in their skills development?
The biggest mistake is not taking it seriously. It's just relying on team practice to think that you're going to potentialize because you're just not.
I
And there's a lot. Honestly, it's a loaded question. There is a lot, like incorrect form with practice. Like not getting any feedback, not doing the right things, just going out to train instead of training with a purpose, which we see all the time. Like, and that there's so many Instagram, TikTok, like comparison of believing the lies of social media that this person's out training and look, every shot they hit goes into the top corner, and there's a lot that people are doing wrong.
Yeah. And yeah, that lack of owning their development. And it reminds me of a post I pulled up here from you that I really liked, and I shared it a few weeks ago. And it says, nobody's coming to save your game, not your coach, not your parents, not me. It's on you. Most wait to be told. Elite players don't wait. They take responsibility. So
Yeah.
let's unpack that a little bit because you've worked with some of the highest level players. You've also worked with a lot of youth players and everything in between. So, yeah, I'm just wanting to unpack this a little bit more.
Honestly, I think this also goes back to social media and where we are right now with um, where we are as people, right? Like now in 2025, pretty much everything is instant gratification, right? And everybody, including myself, we're all looking for a magic bullet. We're all looking for a magic bullet, and we're all looking for someone to basically come along and do it for us. And anything actually worth achieving is delayed gratification, right? You've got to actually work at it, and you've got to work at it in the right way. And, you get the results that you put in. And I feel like we all, especially like youth, it's probably in all sports, they want the results, but they're not putting the effort in, right? And no one's going to come along. And I'm like this with I speak a bit of Spanish, and my goal is to get fluent. I it's scary how much money I've spent on Spanish trying to figure out the best way to learn. Whereas if I just sit down and take that first course that I ever bought, is Rosetta Stone, and complete it, I'll probably be closer to my goals rather than bouncing around oh, this one, and let's be honest, like advertising is so manipulative now. I mean, it's always been manipulative, but now I think we get an average of like, it's something crazy, like 4,000 ads a day thrown at us from different medias, which is, when you think about that number, it's a big number, and our brain has to deal with it. So, with me, with my example, I have to knuckle down, stay on one course, and see it through. And I struggle with that because I'm targeted on social media through Spanish accounts, because obviously social media companies monitor everything you do. And I'll get like, oh, if you've tried everything to reach fluency and it hasn't worked, and it's like, oh, this is me. And the same with football, right? Like, you see all these accounts pop up, and since COVID, like a lot of coaches who were very anti me before COVID, thought, oh, individual training doesn't work, are now individual trainers.
Yeah.
Because, during COVID, there was no training. So all of a sudden they pivoted, and now they think they're an expert in it, which again leads me to the other avenue of where we are now. You can position yourself as an authority, and I'm sure you see this with what you do. You can position yourself as an authority in 2 days without any real experience, without any real history of proof. All you need is an Instagram account. You need followers, which you can buy. You need a verified badge, which you can also buy now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And you need maybe one video to go viral or semi-viral, and all of a sudden you're the authority. And I feel like people are a little bit lazy, where they're not doing their research, they're not doing their homework. Like, who are these people? What is their history? So it's to go back to the original question, it's kind of hard, because everybody wants to be saved and everybody wants it done for them. Number one, who do you listen to? When you've got so much information out there, who do you listen to? And, my ideal answer is no one, because, like, for example, I've put everything out, everything you need to become the best player that you can be, I've given to you for free. Like, free. Because I've got a paid app, I've got paid programming, but I've got an individual development plan template that is free. All you have to do is show up and do the work. And that is your magic bullet. But people don't actually want to do the hard bit. Like, because I still get emails going, well, can you just like fill one out for us and we'll just follow it? But everybody is like, it's an individual development plan. So you have to put the work in yourself, but the template is there. But do people actually want to do the work?
I've always wondered about this. So, one of the biggest complaints I get from just my conversations with soccer parents on a weekly basis is they'll have their kid like not really getting out and becoming friends with the ball and really developing their skills. And then the parent has to nag. And my question is that just a passion problem? Do they not really love it? Or does the parent have to kind of support and encourage? Like, what do we do? Or is it just this isn't for them? Hey guys, just want to take a quick moment to shout out our sponsor, Simply Faster, and one of my favorite speed timing systems from them, the Freelap. I use it for my own sprint training as well as for my athletes, and they love it. It's super easy to set up, you can take it to the field on your own, and you can get accurate speed times to track your progress. Check the Freelap link in the caption below to start adding timing into your speed sessions. If you know me, you know I love my Freelap. If you're serious about speed, it's time to start timing.
That's a good one, right? And it's generational, because I feel like you're always going to get that, 5% of kids who just eat, sleep, breathe the sport that they're playing. Doesn't have to be football, right? They eat, sleep, breathe it. If they're watching TV, they're watching the sport. If they're playing video games, they're playing the sport, right? But what we've missed again is, that instant dopamine hit of scrolling and doom scrolling. So they can either get that instant dopamine hit of scrolling, or they can go outside for an hour and do something they're gonna have to do that every day for forever, basically, as long as they play. Both provide dopamine, but one is instant. One is really hard work. So I don't think it's fair to say like they're not passionate. I think we really have to study the catastrophic effects of what we are putting in front of these kids' eyes constantly. And we've got to get back to education of anything worth achieving is going to be pretty hard. It's going to be hard work. But the thing is, it's so hard because, social media, it makes people famous overnight. Like I'm watching one kid.
Oh no.
He's gone from 0 to 300 and something thousand followers on TikTok in like a week. And this kid, he's probably like 11, and he eats his school lunch and rates it.
That's it?
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong job.
I'm saying, so like now, like, and like respect, like power to the kid, because he's great, but he's so entertaining because he's just being himself. But you've got that draw, right? On that side, you're like, well, if I can do something cool and fun, I'll be famous, right? And then it's not so sexy, is it? Or I can go outside and work really hard for an hour. So I feel like it's easy. It'd be easy for me to say, oh yeah, kids are lazy, they don't want it. But it's so much deeper than that. It is so much deeper than that. Like these kids now, they've grown up with screens. Like I'm not that old that I didn't grow up with screens. I had video games, but it wasn't to the extent where they are now. Like I was playing like California games and things like that. Like luckily I never really got into like games where you actually have to try and there's a story, So I think it's easy, it's lazy, it's kind of lazy to say, oh, these kids don't have any drive. Because I feel like they do. They just need some more guidance.
Oh yeah. I think adults are worse with their phones. I don't think adults are setting a great example. Because adults are always like, oh, kids these days. And I'm like, I see you on the iPad, Mom, all the time.
Yeah, I mean,
I see you scrolling TikTok, Mom.
I'd like to argue you, but I'm guilty.
I know.
Because my TikTok algorithm knows exactly what I want. It gives me Spanish in the past tense, Spanish in the future tense, then it will show me bulldog puppies, right? And it just knows who you are. So, talking of addiction, that it's got to be looked at. Like it has to be looked at.
So what do we do?
Go back to Nokias.
What?
Go back to Nokias and Blackberries.
Oh yeah, I remember those days.
No, like just exchange your PIN instead of iMessage.
Yeah. Well, I think like the best athletes, the competitive advantage now is who can avoid distractions the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that just is what it is. And those who don't will get left behind and they won't make it.
Yeah, I mean, it's always blatantly obvious. Like, there's always a happy medium, right? Because I'm not one to say, oh, you shouldn't be on social media. Come on, let's be realistic. Like, it's enjoyable, but also like, let's start using it as a reward system for yourself, right? So yeah, I'm gonna go out and smash my workouts, and the workouts that we give kids are technical, and they're between 20 minutes and an hour if they're really into it. Okay, so if you complete that, reward yourself with 15 minutes of social media. Because really, no one needs to be on social media for more than that. And I'm talking to myself here. I'm trying to convince myself, because I find myself doom scrolling at night, and then I feel ashamed of myself, which is also very interesting. You're like, and I'm going to talk about Spanish a lot, but I'm like, I could have been doing a Spanish lesson then. For that hour, I was just on that. I've accomplished nothing. Nothing, yeah. I haven't learned anything, and I could have done something else. But like, we can go deep into it, because that's what I think that the whole point of social media is a distraction, because it gets us focused on nothing instead of actual things that are happening. Because the world's in decay, right? The world's falling to bits. And I'm just watching a kid eat his dinner, his lunch, school lunch on TikTok, giving him a like and a comment, saying, yeah, keep it up.
Right. Now, with the skills training, you did mention 20 minutes a day. Is that what you would say is just like a good, like, minimum effective dose? Because 20 minutes a day seems pretty reasonable if it's
Yeah,
purposeful.
it's kind of bite size, right? Like, obviously those 20 minutes need to be intense, right? But I always want players to, you're like, this is my process. And I don't gatekeep, because, it's just what I don't do. But our process is analyze your game. From your game, film strengths and weaknesses. Go and ask your coach whether they agree. Ask them to be harsh. The real kicker is go and ask your teammates to be really harsh, because kids have no issue being mean, which is what you want in this case. Then you write out your goals, short term, long term. Then you write out your individual training plans, which they can be the same every day. If you're working on like those short term goals, like say you want to master 2 movements, they can be the same every day. They don't have to, like, I have a training app, and people will do all 100 sessions in it and then email me saying, oh, when's the new session coming out? And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, we finished all of them. I'm like, well, you see that one that we did with Alex Morgan? Yeah. We've probably done that one like 80 times. Just me and her. Oh, yeah. You don't need more. You need to master what you've got. Then they repeat the process. Every 2 to 3 months, you repeat the process and go over. And, we always start with 20 minutes, because it's kind of like a bite size and it's not intimidating. And what you figure out is that the kids who really focus on that 20 minutes, they always end up doing, later on, it'll be 30, and then no longer looking at their watch, it'll be 45, and then they'll maybe get up to an hour, right? But I'm very cognizant on loading and, avoiding burnout, mental and physical, at all costs. And as part of our training, I always say you've got to have at least 1 day off of physical stuff. But we've also got an issue with grind culture and training guilt. Of this is when you go on social and you see other kids training. Oh, they're training. I've got to train. And you've got that guilt. And we live in a culture of rise and grind. And it's my fault partially, because I used to preach this: rise and grind and work and more work, which is true still. But it should be rise and grind and work and nap, and then maybe work some more, but make sure you're napping, and rest. And so what we've done, because kids want to keep their streak going of training, we add in analysis, like pro game analysis. So on your day off, you watch a half or a full game, and you analyze the player playing your position. That counts as your training day. It's a very, very important part of your training, because you're learning from pros, you're learning how they read the game, you're learning to anticipate. And, we always say, the question we ask is, what can you take from their game and put it into yours? So there's like loads of little things you can do, but that's our process. So the beast mode soccer way, we call it.
Yeah. I really like that a lot, because I think like one of the big things people miss with skills training is they don't really know what they're working on.
Yeah.
And they just kind of do a session, whether it's on their own or they're working with someone, and it's just kind of busy work. but it's not
Yeah.
intentional work. So I really like that idea of them watching the game, getting the feedback from the coach and the teammates. That's the first thing I've heard that with the teammates, but I really like that, even though it might
It's
be hard to
hard.
hear, but
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
good to have more people weigh in, because if you see a common theme, then it's like, okay.
We do say in the IDP, like, be prepared, because you're asking them to be harsh, right? So this isn't the time to be so sensitive with it. This is the time to have your rhino skin and just take it on the chin and be like, well, I asked. Okay. Right? Because it's always quite hard, isn't it? What do you think I need to work on? Like, your left foot's trash. Is it? It was all right. No, when you're shooting with your left foot, we just turn them because we know you're going to miss. No. But you've got to
So
have a
I have a question with, so say a player finds out specifically, okay, here are the things I need to work on. When do they do something on their own with like the ball mastery unopposed versus, okay, I need to work with a trainer and do some opposed work? Like when to decide that?
I mean, there's a whole debate, right? Which for me is a lazy debate again. And unopposed training doesn't work. Well, I can give you 100 examples. The best one for me is Daly, when we did a lot of unopposed work, and we've got literal mirrors of her in games doing the exact same thing. But unopposed was when you're at home.
Yeah.
Right? If you've got no brothers, and a trash can is your opponent, or cones are your opponent. Now, yeah, you eventually need to add pressure, right? We call it RUP, like reps under pressure. So if you've got a buddy or a trainer that you work with, obviously you need to add that in. But because if people don't have that, I want them to take what they're doing at home on their own immediately into practice, and throw caution to the wind and try those movements. And again, analyze, because it's like, I'm very honest. I'm like, 9 times out of 10, you're going to get stripped. And it's up to you to figure out the why. Because the movement that I'm doing is good, right? The movement is good, but so they've got the skill acquisition, they've got it down. Like, they've acquired that technique. Then it's the skill adaptation, right? So can you adapt the skill that you've acquired into a game-like situation? And you would argue that a trainer isn't a game-like situation either, but you can, make it as near to. But what we really want is for them to do it in team training, right? And again, you can speak to your coach, be like, hey, I've been working on this, this, and this. So I'm going to try these tonight. If I keep getting stripped, please just encourage me to keep, tell me why, give me the feedback, instead of thinking, well, they're just garbage tonight because I'm trying something new. Like, because coaches want it anyway, right? Coaches want you to be flary. Coaches want you to be confident. And that's brings me back to the lazy debate, right, of unopposed versus opposed. It's the psychological effect, right? Now, do we really think me working with someone like Alex for 2 weeks before you go away to a World Cup camp, and then you've got the World Cup, are those 2 weeks technically really adding to a game? Probably not. The psychological factor of Al knows she's going into camp and her reps were on fire. So those last 3 days, she was a torch. She was constantly on fire, right? What does that do to your inner? You walk in pissing confidence, right? That's something I never worked with Carly Lloyd, but the one thing that I really, really admired about her was she pissed confidence, right? Like, you could go in, like, people went in on Carly for whatever reasons. She didn't care. It's like this kind of the same with Al. Like, people just used to go in on Alex. Like, she doesn't do this, she doesn't do this, she missed a shot. Water off a duck's back. Because she's ready. She knows that she knows she's done more than everyone else. She knows she's consistent. She knows she's on fire. And that trickles right down to the kid doing those 20 minutes a day for like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, and all of a sudden it comes out in training. It's not going to immediately transfer to games. That adaptation's not going to be immediate because, as I said, it's delayed gratification. But then one day in one of those games, maybe 3 months of solid work, 20 minutes a day, ball comes in, you destroy a player, you do a separation touch into space and whatever, you cross it, whatever you do. And then you're like, oh, that just happened. And again, it's the psychological part is compounding, right? I always refer to the Lego castle, one brick at a time. And all of a sudden you've got nothing. Then it looks like a mess. Then you can see a kind of castle forming, and then the whole castle's there. And you're like, wow, I did that. And it's the same with training. And I'm guessing it's the same for any sport.
Yeah, I don't think it's right that people are kind of like this or that with the unopposed versus opposed. I mean, it should be fairly obvious you have to do both. One for the
Exactly.
muscle memory and then another for the application and under pressure, like you said. And I think a lot of players, like in the beginning of the conversation, you said a lot of them rely on practice to teach them a lot of these skills. Like I'll hear players complain, oh, they don't work on shooting enough with the laces. Oh, they don't work on like first touch. And I'm like, yeah, because the whole team's there and they want to work on formation and the tactical side. So
It's
your
not
job
coach's
is
fault.
to work on the ball mastery.
Yeah, it's not, it's not the coach's fault. They've
No,
got
no.
an hour and a half twice a week for the most part, where, if you're playing club soccer, yeah, that coach is there to develop you, but they're there to win.
Mm.
It's just facts, because you could have the best developmental coach in the world, right? And they don't care about results. If they lose 10 games in a row, and it doesn't matter if you project that down to 2 years when they'll be the best team in the region, no one does that. They'll get fired. The club will just move them to another team, or they'll fire them out. So coaches are in a tough position, right? Because obviously they want to develop, but they don't have time. Like, you can't develop 20 kids at once.
Mhm.
Not possible. You can help, but the kids need to take ownership of it and do it on their own.
I agree. Yeah, I just hear that too much where they're like, yeah, they don't work on like my specific needs and like speed dribbling or 1v1s. And I'm like, you guys, like this is you need to own these skills and your individual ball mastery. And I just have a question about that. Like, what are some just non-negotiable technical skills that every player should work on at home consistently? No
First
matter
touch,
what position, like field position you're playing.
first touch, and ball mastery. Like, if you need a wall and a ball,
Yeah.
honestly, because the wall it can be as forgiving or unforgiving as you want, right? So when you're starting out, you're gently playing the ball against the wall. I've got players who rip that ball as hard as they can against the wall because they want to test themselves. And it's not just killing a ball, right? It's your progressive touches away from danger, your 2 to 3 1v1 moves that you want to master. Yeah, you're gonna part of the acquisition process is doing it unopposed so that your body learns the exact movement needed, right? Then you add in, as I said, to training with your team, and ball mastery, because you want to be comfortable getting out of danger. And it's like every team wants to play tiki taka, right? I feel like every coach would want their team to play that brand of football. But what gets lost is like teams who play that style really well, every player is technically amazing. Every player. It's like you could switch your left back to your right wing and they'll still be really, really good. And I think that gets lost, and we're like, oh, we want to play two touch. And you're like, well, your kid hasn't got a first touch. So how are you going to expect them to play that way? So it's simple, right? Your first touch, your ball mastery, 1v1 moves. I'm also a big believer in learning how to strike a ball properly. and I'm sure you see it a lot. Like it gets lost learning how to strike and put some texture on a ball. I'm a firm believer of that, of shooting technique, ball striking in general, and first touch out of the air, which is also really hard to do if you're starting out.
Yeah, and those are like some of those very specific skills that a team coach isn't going to take 10 minutes away from practice to really break down. So I think that's where players need to own that. And I do have a follow-up question to that. So when should a player work with a skills trainer? Is it more for like a very specific skill, like shooting with the laces properly, that they really need help with, just that like individual attention?
I think when should they? It's personality, right? If you're a player who's got drive and needs guidance, do it. If you're a player with no drive, don't do it.
Right.
Because it's honestly a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like when you get players, they don't really want to be there. But if you've got a skills trainer in your area who's first of all knowledgeable, right, and they have a history of developing players of your age into whatever it is that you want to become, whether that's D1, college, pro, NAIA, whatever your goal is, do they have a history? Have they got proof of doing that? Because that's what a lot of it is as well. Like, this person knows how to get me to the next level, right? So I feel like, for the example, the players that I work with, they know I'll run through walls for them, right? I'll run through walls to try and get them where they want to be. So that, like, for me personally, I like to do things on my own, so I'll get to a level where I top out, and what I know, my knowledge is not there anymore. So then I'll need a tutor, right? So it's a similar thing with football and any other sport, right? So you've got that to keep in mind as well, where you can do it all on your own, but now I need to get to the next level. Can you show me how to get to the next level? And honestly, Erica, I feel like I'm more of like a soccer therapist at times as well, because again, like,
Yeah.
with the players that we work with, it's very much a community. And because I've got the experience that I've got, I think I've seen everything. There's very few things where I'm like, oh wow, that happened. So it's that relationship that you've got where you can talk players through things that have got nothing to do with individual training, nothing to do with skills training. It's teammates being mean, doing the mean girls thing. It's coaches recruiting you for college and you get there and everything they said was an absolute lie, and you're not going to start as a freshman, and how to navigate all of these things, right? I need an agent, can you help me? It's down to like little things. This is my first touch in a game, this is my first touch here, it's different, what can we do? So for me, it's not skills training, it's way deeper than that. But I also know that I'm pretty unique in that, where I've got the history to back it all up. And, like you said earlier, like, I've trained such a plethora of different players that anywhere along that line I can say, well, yeah, this reminds me of this player, this is what she did. It's seeing players through the mental side of an ACL, right? Like that, for me, I'm not training them, obviously, but it's keeping them going through that. And unfortunately, we see quite a few of those, and they just seem like very accidental, but it's annoying.
Yeah, I
None
think
of my
that's
field, though.
what?
None under my watch. Touch
Yeah.
wood.
That's good, but yeah, the ACL rehab, it makes me cry. Just I have a lot of girls come to me halfway through their physical therapy for like the strength piece, the return to sport piece. And it is like the hardest thing to see like a teenage girl go through who's 14 years old. And it's just, it makes me cry a lot of nights for sure. But like you said, it's like it is about the training, but it is more than that too. And I think if kids can find someone that is relatable to them and they feel they can confide in and develop that rapport, whether it's skills or strength and conditioning training, I think that's so much more important than someone who is like textbook smart and seems to
Yeah,
know all the things or has a good
yeah,
TikTok.
that's it, right? You've got to be so careful because if you believe social media, this person's great. Yeah, I'm not going to call people out, but I've seen these viral trainers and I've seen their sessions and I see them on the phone
Oh gosh.
during the session and they're doing the exact same session as they did with the kid before and the kid before. And you're just like, what's happening? Like, you're paying how much for this? Come over to this side. We'll do it right.
Yeah. That's sad.
But it's
Yeah,
that
that's
shiny objects, isn't it? People are, oh, well, they're viral, so they've got to be good. Do
yeah.
your research, please, please.
Mhm. Yeah, and I used to be kind of against this, well, at least in the gym setting, but now I let people watch my assessments because I
Mm.
don't want you to just drop off your kid and then leave them for an assessment. I want them to watch and
Yeah,
see like what we do and the process and the thought behind it. And I think parents should watch. They should watch skills training too and see how people interact and how they teach. And I wonder this too. So with teaching and cueing, do you think more is better, like being the coach who talks all the time and throws out 100 cues, or do you think there's a balance? Like, what are your thoughts on like what is good coaching?
but are we talking team coaching?
Skills. Well,
Um,
both, I guess.
I mean, from what I do, I talk a lot,
Mhm.
um, but I kind of want them to make mistakes, right? Because then, if they make one mistake, I'm not going to call it out. But if they're repeatedly making the same mistake, and this is the thing, Erica, right? Like, you've got to look at it because if someone's doing something technically incorrect, right? But it works, is it technically incorrect? Who wrote the book? Right? Who wrote the book in football saying you shouldn't toe the ball? Who wrote that? Because if I'm within 8 yards of the goal and I'm wrong footed and I toe punt the ball and it goes in, what's wrong about that? Right? I do wonder a lot. Who said this is wrong? Um, so because I can look at pros that I work with and be like, well, technically doesn't do it correctly, but it works. So that's what I ask myself. Is like, okay, shall I correct that, or are they really comfortable with it and it works in games? Because in that case, I can show them a better way, what I think is a better way, but this is the way that works for them. So I do talk during sessions, but I like to have my sessions pretty mentally light for players. I'm not like a drill sergeant, and I never have been because I didn't enjoy that type of coaching. I never did. So for me, this sounds a bit new agey, but it's a safe space, where I can talk and a player can completely disagree. And like, well, no, I'm going to do this, or I'm never going to do this in a game. It's okay. Listen. So it's. I would say it's collaborative. With my talking, it's collaborative, and I
Yeah.
also rap sometimes.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, in English and Spanish, it's quite impressive. Sometimes Spanglish.
That is awesome.
It's like
Yeah,
a light. It's mentally light, right? Like, if you keep
yeah.
it light but with intensity, kids look forward to coming. Like, players look forward to coming. Like, I don't want it to be a place where a kid walks in and like, oh,
Mm.
they get shouted at for an hour here. Right? No one wants that.
And this is often overlooked too when parents are looking for trainers. They don't think about, does my kid enjoy hanging out with this person for an hour? And I think like a good green flag with all this is if after the session they get in the car and they say, "Hey mom and dad, when do I get to do that again?"
Uh,
That's like the litmus test for training.
I think for trainers, it's about your delivery as well, because
Mhm.
you know, teenagers it's difficult to deliver to, right? If you don't speak teenager, then you're not looked at. You're looked at as a chore. Whereas if you figure it out and you know how to deliver it and you know how to get them to get the best out of themselves, then it's fun, right? And honestly, Erica, if you care, people
Mhm.
know. People figure that out real quick. Who actually cares and who's there just to bank the check,
Yeah.
right? Because I can show you my phone and through four texts just this morning from players just wanting me to chat to them about what's going on with their college. One of them is in England playing pro on the guys' side. Um, I've got the trainers reaching out to me. I've got college players pumped for their games this weekend, and it's just showing that you actually give a shit.
Mhm.
You're not just there for their highlight reels.
Yeah.
Right? You're there for the lowlights as well.
What's so crazy about this is it's like when you do show that care, the parent like thinks, you're going above and beyond, but I'm like, I'm just doing my job. Like, why is the standard so low?
Oh
You know what I
no.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, it should be normal for me to, like, get on a call with a high school coach at 7 AM, like, giving an ACL return to play protocol, like, and it shouldn't be surprising that, "Wow, thank you so much." Like, I'm like, "No, this is, like, a non-negotiable piece of all
Yeah.
this," like, and, like, you just texting your players and helping with, like, college advice, and it's like, that should just be, like, in the job description, and I don't know why parents are so surprised. Is it because people haven't experienced like this before? Like,
Honestly, it's normal for you, right? But
yeah.
I feel like for a lot of people, it isn't normal, right? Like I feel the player will walk out the door and they're forgotten about it until the next time they come in. So, when the parent sees that, it's wow, right? They actually do care, or they're going to make these phone calls and
Yeah.
they're going to find my kid another team. Like this, okay, this is great
Yeah.
because most people don't. Like everybody's selfish. Like we forget, like human beings are inherently selfish, right? Like it's fact. So when you meet an empath, you're like, oh wow, they actually care about me, and I do. Like, bro, I've got players who retired from football, 5, 6 years ago, and we still communicate like once a week. Like they're in the workforce,
Yeah.
they're married with kids, and we're still communicating because like I have that relationship where we actually give a shit about each other.
That's so hard to find, like, staying in touch like that with even just, like, your own friends. It's like,
Yeah.
you're doing that with your players. Now, I have a question for you, it's kind of a curveball. Have you lost sleep over your players
Oh,
before?
of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Mhm.
there's been some decisions that have been made on players that I just can't wrap my head around. And
Mm.
yeah, it does keep you up. Like I had a college kid do ACL last year. She was a senior, and we'd worked so hard, and it was like just a little turn, and it kept me up because I just couldn't figure out like what life, bro. Like it's not fair.
Mhm.
You've got a kid who's doing all the right things, and then that happens, and I'm like, this is not cool. Like I get I get too deep into it. I'm like, this isn't what like you get told about life. Like you get told that what you put in, you get out. But she put everything in, and now she's being like
Mhm.
punished. Like what? And then you're like, everyone's like, oh, yeah, everything's a lesson. I'm like, cool. I don't want this lesson.
Right.
I've
Like,
already
stay
learned it.
positive.
Yeah, I've already learned this lesson hundreds of times before. I don't want it. So
Mm.
yeah, it's kind of frustrating because you kind of wish you could just turn it off sometimes, right? But
Mhm.
you can't.
It's always so hard to see that, like, when you have those players that they just, like, give everything they got and then something doesn't work out, whether they don't make a team or they get cut from the starting lineup or they get an ACL, like you said. It's just yeah, it's just not fair. And then it's like, how do you explain that to a young player who's just, like, trying to find their way in the world? It's like it's so hard.
Really, really difficult. And
Now
you know what? It comes down. It's always for me as well with that. Like, it's hard for a kid to get cut, right? But it also comes down to communication from whoever's doing the cutting. You know, like this one winds me up when they just send a list.
or they just blame it on, "It's your fitness," and they gave this, like, vague bullshit
Yeah,
thing, and the kid's like, "What do I do? How do I improve,
like
coach?"
get detailed. Like,
Yeah,
bring
I
them
just had a
information.
girl go through that too, and she's devastated. I'm like, "Don't accept this vague answer. Ask your
Yeah,
coach for specifics. This is bullshit." Like, I
yeah.
legit said that.
And it's true. Like, take 20 minutes out of your time and nail down the exact problem for them. Or,
Yes.
or there's two kids who are better than you ahead of you, so you're not going to play. Right? Like, just be honest. Be like, right, this is the plan that you should be on. These are what you need to do better. Can I come and train with the team? No. Okay. Right. But take it personally, always, and show them. Like, show them how wrong they are. And then they'll be your best friend when you're the baller on the team. It's annoying.
So, just to wrap this up, I know we kind of went all over today, but I had a lot of fun. What would you tell to sports parents that you just really want them to know in this youth soccer journey that's an adventure?
Like, it's a cliche, but trust the process. And in youth soccer, realize that you're the consumer. You're paying for a product. And if I went and bought a MacBook tomorrow and it didn't work as it said it was going to work, I would go back for a refund, or I'd never buy a MacBook again. And it's the same in youth sports. You've got to look at it for what it is, because clubs will promise you the world because they want your money, and then some clubs don't deliver on that. Right? The tryout process comes along, and you've got a kid who's been at the club for 10 years, and they've paid however amount of money for those 10 years, and they're doing all the right things, but a kid from another club comes along, your kid gets cut. There's no loyalty there. So there shouldn't be any loyalty on the parents' side either. So for kids and parents, be careful who you listen to. Be careful who you let into your brain. Um, find out the good coaches and the good teams, and not just the wins, the actual good coaches, the ones who care. And don't be crazy. Don't be crazy. Quite try to be stoic with with the process. If coach is doing something you really don't like, ask yourself a question: is he actually doing, or he or she actually doing something I don't like, or is it just because it's happening to my kid? Everybody thinks they've got the cutest dog at home, right? And it's the same with kids. Everybody thinks they've got the best kid at home, and that just be realistic and stoic with it, because it's not going to be a straight road. It is a roller coaster, no matter how good your kid is. Like, one day you're going to have something where a coach just throws up a bomb, and you're like, well, what's happening? So, maximize your process with the steps that I said, and enjoy it, because your kids are going to grow up, man. Like, you're going to blink and your kid's going to be at college, right? Don't be crazy. If your kid needs a rest, listen to them. Like, don't automatically assume the bad things, and be their biggest cheerleader. If you don't know nothing about soccer, shut up. Right? If you never played, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. If you played ice hockey and you're trying to tell your kid what to do, shut up. Right? Educate yourself so that you understand. And remember that it's the kid's journey, not yours. Because some people love to live vicariously through their kids, and stop that behavior as well. But parents also do a number of amazing things, like they're showing up. So keep just showing up in a positive way, and don't try not to fuel your kid with negativity, right? If the kid's not playing, try not to fuel, it's about the coach or the other team. And it's hard because parents get into it. When I first moved to the US, I lived with families, and I see how much they get into it. And it turns into a big, big part of their life, which is amazing. But at the same time, realize the journey is for the child, and she's not, or he's not the next Messi, and she's not the next Marta, for the most part. There's a few like outliers out there, like Olivia Moultrie was an outlier. There's a few, but they're not all that. Just try to get your kid to be the best kid that they can be, and then that's gonna roll off the field as well.
It just made me cry tear joy. That last bit there. I love it. I really like the be stoic, because it is a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It's never smooth sailing. It's never perfect. There's going to be good times, but they don't last. But then the bad times don't last either. Everything's just temporary.
And it's all life lessons, right? Like, if you learn to deal with a coach that hates your guts,
Mm.
in the future you might have a boss who hates your guts. Well, in the future it'll probably be an AI boss, but it'll be super intelligent, so it might hate you, and you're gonna have to learn how to deal with that, right? So it truly is life lessons, and that's what I love about sports, right? It teaches people how to deal with people, and it teaches people how to actually achieve things worth achieving in life.
That's brilliant. Well, David, thank you so much for this conversation. I'll leave your social media in the caption below so everyone can give you a follow and check out your content, your free content, maybe your programs as well. So, guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next time.